Namaste. Namaste is an Indian way of saying hello and welcome also. So first let me get started with this. The dancing was great. It was just amazing. Okay, one big round of applause for all those who were dancing yesterday. And I'm glad that I could still see so many faces, because I was looking at, okay, these people are not going to wake up. And when I came for breakfast also, there were like 10 people, and I was like counting, there's going to be 3 people in my talk, me and the 2 of the organizers. So it's really surprising to see you all here. Okay, that's one. The second thing is, one of the most difficult things about being the speaker at the last of the conference is that most of the speakers earlier have already stolen your jokes. So you kind of like kept, I'm like, okay, so this one, and then, okay, he cracked it, and then, okay, I thought I will introduce myself in Polish, right? I thought, hold on, all right? Then when I started to practice, I realized that, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I had learned a bit of German, a while ago, and I thought I could really do this, but it turned out that it does not. So here's what I decided. If I can't introduce myself in the Polish, I thought at least I'll get my slides in the Polish, right? So I went to Google Translate. Now whatever grammar killing that the Google Translate has done is what you would actually see here. And I was kind of distracted with it because to verify, I try to retranslate and it completely changes the meaning, right? And I'm like, oh my God, shocked. And I was afraid of one thing, that what would happen if some kind of bad word would come up here for something that I didn't mean at all, right? So you can go search for the text below. And here's also something, right? So I do have something. So I prepared all these, slides with the copy paste and of the translate, and then when I was going through it, I don't know which slide was what, right? So then I started putting the English text below and saying, like, okay, I'm going to use that as my reference, and for those people who don't know Polish. So my slides is 95% in Polish, thanks to Google Translate, and 5% in English. And I'm sorry, the 5% I had to get in. So let us talk about a topic that connects all of us. All of us. And what is that? What is that topic that connects all of us? I didn't hear you? Death and taxes. Okay. Good starting point. What do you need before you die? Right, okay. So there are many such things like the debt and a whole lot of taxes that connects all of us, right? There's one more thing that connects all of us, irrespective of what language we speak and all of that stuff. And that is food, right? So let's talk about food. Everybody comes to a testing conference, and you've been hearing a whole lot of stuff, right? Are you really surprised by anything you've heard so far? Yes or no? No. Okay, what about those who are in silence? Are you still thinking about it? Are you surprised by what you've heard so far from all these, speakers? Are you surprised? Okay, the speakers won't take it as offensive. They are also aware of it, right? So one of the things, I've been speaking at conferences in the last, 10 years, and I am hearing a lot of topics that are very, very similar over the last, decade, because a lot of things, while it looks has changed, it has also not changed. So people are still talking about how to do exploratory testing. We as a generation should have moved from that topic to something else, but we are not. We're stuck over there. So I thought, okay, anyway, we are stuck. So how does it matter whether I talk about testing or not? And let's talk about food. At least something that is useful for all of us. And we have certainly made good progress on the food part of it, right? So one thing that I realized is that I started looking at the world instead of looking at, just the testing part of it, and I'm like seeing how the world has moved. In the last, 10 years, all of us have become a dietitian. Okay? How many of you have offered or been asked about a tip about a diet by your friends or family? Have you been asked a tip? Have you been asked a suggestion of what diet should somebody follow, or have you asked, somebody who is not a qualified, dietitian? Okay. So this actually tells us that we all are playing the role of dietitian. We're not qualified to play that role, but the world is moving towards the point where each one of us are trying to be experts at something that we are not. And here is some proof about it. Here is a Google trend of the ketogenic diet. Have you all heard about it? Have you all right? Has anybody tried the keto diet? Oh, look at that. Okay, there are a few people who have tried. So this is the trend that it's looking like that people are actively searching for what is this keto diet, so that either they can try it or they can offer the advice to somebody, although they're not qualified for it, right? So that's one of the trends. And the other thing about who has tried the intermittent fasting? Okay. There's some people who have not actually tried it, and that's the reason why the trend is actually tapering down. So a lot of people today are kind of aware about intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet and all of this stuff, and we are offering advice to a lot of people. 10 years ago, I thought this was a job for somebody who is qualified actually to do it. Now you can ask yourself a question: is this a good trend? Is this a good trend? If each one of us become, dietitians, although we're not qualified to, what would happen to those who are actively studying it and who are actively trying to become, dietitian? So ideally, according to this trend, if the whole world is becoming a dietitian, then the dietitian jobs should drop down. But here is another interesting thing, right? That the apps that that are actually focused, towards the health, okay, they're drastically increasing. I'm sure each one of your phone has at least one health app. Yes, no? Right, good. So each one of us are so health conscious. I don't think I've ever seen my parents being so health conscious, so anxious about their health as much as we are, right? And they were eating anything and everything that they wanted to and lived happily. And for us, we eat very limited stuff. We do keto diet, we do intermittent fasting, but there's a lot of stress and anxiety that we go through. So one of the things that I was looking at is that everybody is becoming super conscious about their health. Health is one of the largest sectors in the world, today. And there's a lot of investment also going on to it. And with all of us becoming specialist dietitian and nutritionist, and today we don't look at food as food, right? We look at 67 grams of carbohydrates and salt and sodium, and there's all sorts of diets that is there. Today there's a low sodium diet, there's a high carbon diet, and that's how we look at food. We don't look at food. We look at the carbohydrates. We look at the protein content in it. So we are kind of becoming those, dietitians. And I thought the trend would be in such a way that why do we need dietitians if we are learning it? Why do you need to go to a dietitian? And then I was like super excited to go search for it. And then I see that this is one of the sectors that's growing at a faster rate than all other sectors. It's just so beautiful, right? It's just so beautiful that the whole world is trying to become a dietitian, and that should have ideally led to the jobs dropping down, because you don't need a dietitian if you can go on internet and learn about keto, right? But that's where the jobs are increasing. Why? This is a very beautiful question that I asked myself, and here is what I understood. When people do something and they fail in it, that's when they realize the value of an expert. That's when they realize the value of an expert. So till they do it, they think that, oh, what does a dietitian do? What does a dietitian do? Say, eat less bread, you are allergic to gluten and things like this. But the internet offers everything that we want. The apps that we have offers everything that we want. So if that's true, then the job should have dropped down. And then I looked at it and say that, hey, why are the nutritionists and the dietitians are in much higher demand than they were? It's because all of us have tried something, didn't work. That's when we realized that this seems to be a specialized job. Now, since if I don't talk about testing, and Barris will be really disappointed with that, so I'm going to try to just satisfy Barris for a second, right? So that's when I realized that the world is moving towards doing everything. Okay, today, the whole of the industries today are aimed to support you to do everything on your own, irrespective of what. All these autonomous cars and all of that stuff, although it has its own problems, can now help people who are blind to take a car and travel from one place to another place. So the whole world is moving towards giving this experience to everybody to do everything that they want to do. Now, people talk about the end of testers. Okay, people talk about the end of testers and that, everybody should test. Now, so I do a lot of consulting work, okay, through my company, and so recently I was at this Swedish company. It's a very famous company. Unfortunately, I can't quote it, but here's how the conversation actually started. So so I go there, and this is the first question I ask them: why am I here? Why, and they say, oh, you're here because we're having some a lot of bugs leak to the production. Okay, what do you know about the problem? And then I started to find, okay, what kind of methodology or approach that you use? And they said, okay, DevOps methodology. We don't have any testers. And then who tests? And they said everybody tests. And I was so excited. I was so happy for it. Yes, wow. Okay, so what should we be doing then? So I thought, okay, my role is to support them, to test. And then when I investigated, they said, oh, since everybody is not able to test, we have a small team of testers somewhere, but they're not part of the sprint. And this company advertises itself as the full-fledged, DevOps, not having, testers on board. So I've been hearing a lot of, companies, including, let's say, companies like, Google, including companies like, Microsoft, who say that we don't have testers. What they mean is they don't have testers on their role. That's outsourced, right? So for me, as a tester, I was opposing this idea. I'm like, how can you say I'm obsolete? I don't want to hear this word, for myself. How can you say? Then after some time, when I started to look at this world, trend about the dietitians and all of that stuff, I started embracing the idea, saying that, yes, everybody should test. And I want to figure out what my role truly is. And that's the search, okay, that I'm on. So the good news is that there's an increasing trend of people who are searching for how to test. I'm happy. I hope these searches are coming from developers, product owners, BAs, the CEOs, and the CPOs, and whatever they want to call themselves as. I really want them to learn testing. That's when they would understand my pain points. And so today, I think that everyone should test. Everyone should test. Why? So you all have seen this pyramid at least once in your lifetime, correct? Most of the times people draw a triangle and make you believe it's a pyramid, and here is a real pyramid. There are darker sides of the pyramid, okay, that I wanted to share with you. So this is what the world aspires, okay, to happen inside their company. But this is what really happens. There's hardly any unit testing, and hence there is an increasing load on the next layers. Does this look like a pyramid? To me it looks like an underwear. And because of this kind of implementation of the test pyramid, it gets pretty smelly. It gets pretty leaky. And now you have bugs in production. You have bugs everywhere, right? So for me, I'm like, that's your aspirational pyramid, but here's your reality. And how do we help somebody fix this? How do we help somebody fix this? So why are they not testing? Why are they not testing? So we had a great, debate yesterday. So for those of you who came, we had a great, debate of should developers write automation code, or should testers write automation code? And why are they not testing? Came out pretty good, where we discussed about pointers like the developers come into the job to write more of product code, and they want to ship product code faster because of the pressures that the business and the product is having on them. So they're not in a position to test, and that's the reason why the testers are writing automation code. And there were points both sides, of course, right? Now, people need support. I think when I changed my opinion, when I stopped opposing the idea that testers can become obsolete, is the real time where I really found out that there's something else that I can do as a tester. There's an interesting value that I can bring. Since I have been doing testing, I can support the whole organization to test, and I can build something for them, tools. I can build tools for them to enable them to test. And here's something I want to say. No, I'm not talking about automation tools. The moment we hear a word tool, the first thing that comes to a lot of people's mind is automation tool, like let's say Selenium or APM or things like that. But but that's where I think there are two kinds of tools. The two kinds of tools. A tool that helps you get a job is one kind of tool. And there's another tool that solves your problems, your pain points that you're going through in an organization. Okay, how many of you have tried installing APM on your Mac or Ubuntu? Right? Okay, how hard it is? Huh? One command, exactly, right? Now, sometimes, that's a happy part. Now, in case if it doesn't go through, then there's a lot of troubleshooting and the pain and everything that actually comes up. What if there was a tool that would actually troubleshoot for you, right? Okay, because that's where the time wants to go. You don't want to spend, you don't want to spend 8 hours trying to install APM, but you want to get started with your automation, right? Okay, okay, now I want to show you tools that people have built which solve some pain points. It's not, and for how many of you, test data is a challenge? Okay, right? So, and how long has this problem existed? Quite long, quite a long time. What are we doing about it as an industry? Right? So here is Goico, who said, I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of seeing people trying to enter, test data. And the most common jokes that is done about the testers is a tester goes to a bar, clicks this, clicks that, and then the customer walks in and presses a button and boom, the whole bar explodes, right? And that's the reason, because we don't have a credible test data that we use, all right? And here is a beautiful, thing. He built a bug magnet, which helps you contextualize and enter the kind of the test data that you want. It's already preloaded, and you can also contribute over to it. Isn't this wonderful? Now, this tool is not the tool that your organizations are asking for in the job description. They're not saying you should know bug magnet. But once you get the job, after you've listed all the tools that they're asking for, when you get inside the organization, you will need this. And that's what I'm saying, that there is opportunity for, for each one of us to do it. Here is Kropath. Here is, Kropath. So for those of you who are trying to struggle, yourself in terms of trying to find, relative XPaths and, things like this, okay, the Kropath, okay, built by one of the tester, helps you to get your, relative XPaths very easily, saves a lot of your time, and gets you more faster to do your work, right? And this was a pain point that has remained for a while, and that's the reason why the moment this person launched it, about 120,000 users across the globe started to use it, because everybody are experiencing the pain, but they're continuing to live with the pain. They're not looking at actually solving the pain. And most of these people have the necessary coding skills to build this, but they get used to the pain, and that's a problem that I'm talking about. Okay, this is a beautiful thing, right? And these tools, as you see, they're enablers for you. They help anyone to do things, right? And this is something by Alan Richardson. He's also called the evil tester. That's a nice name to have, right? And here's what he has done. He's built pages where you can practice test automation. You can now bring in all the learning that you have, and he has built it in such a way that you can practice all of those elements of test automation that you learn, which is so fantastic. The world needed it. How long has test automation existed? But where are the practice applications? And people usually try to do the Google login and log out, and I don't understand how that can stand as an example, right? Okay, so this is something for you to check. And then there's another tester who built something called the Slack quote bot, right? We keep collecting a lot of quotes, and don't ever think that Twitter is a stream for your quotes. It's a mess, right? So one of the testers, what he did is like saying that I want to collect a lot of good quotes, and I want these quotes to come up every now and then when I'm looking at Slack. So he published this, the quote Slack bot, where it'll keep throwing. Now you can customize it. You can add your own quotes to it. You can add your own reminders, and it'll go to your whole team. So it's a nice thing that every once in a while people are chatting with you, and you're asking them a question. Are you sure that's what you want to talk to me? Are you sure we should be doing this? It's a nice, fantastic thing that you can customize. So if you look at these people, they've enabled others to do things without they having to be there. And I'm sure a lot of people know about Angie. Angie has done a wonderful job. She has done this beautiful thing of enabling plenty of people to learn programming and to learn automation. This is one of the most fantastic enabler jobs that she has played. This is making a huge difference to the world. Now, there's a lot of courses available. It has been available in the past, but this free material and a lot of people contributing to it has become a huge enabler. You can go look at the Twitter stream of Angie. There's a lot of people posting saying that I didn't know programming, now I know programming, now I've actually become an automator, and here is the job that I've got. It feels so beautiful to hear those things. And these are the people who have enabled others to grow, who have grown. We all think that our growth is just when we learn things. You have learned a lot already. You've learned so many things, but how much has the world benefited from learning, from your learning? Okay, that's a question that you may need to be asking yourself. Okay, here's another thing that I was mentioning about this this APM, installation actually aspect of it, right? Yes, it's just one script, and here is that script available, and I saw many testers actually struggling with it. Okay, this existed, but they were not aware of it. So So to me, this is a great enabler tool for somebody who wants to get started off, faster. You get a new Mac, you get a new Ubuntu. Okay, here is a script. Okay, run it, and it gets you going, right? Now, how many people here don't know how to code? You can raise your hand. It's not a shame. Okay, there are a few people. Okay, you don't know how to code. So you have two choices. You can learn coding, or here's what you can do. You can build partnerships with people who know how to code and care about the problems you're trying to solve. Building partnership is a fundamental thing for us to succeed. Most of us think that we have to become everything that this industry wants. We don't need to. We just need to find the right partners. Think about raising your kids all alone. It's very difficult. But with partners, well, sometimes it might get difficult, but with partners, the job becomes relatively easier or tougher for the kids, I would say, right? So building partnerships has been a very essential thing. And I'm going to show you tools that the non-coding testers have built in partnership with people who know how to code. Okay, here is an app which makes it easier for people to to test and record their testing and report the testing, and it helps you take the screenshot, report the flow. Okay, it does a performance profiling of the app, and this is one such example of somebody who didn't know how to code but had this problem statement of having been a mobile app to and reporting bugs from the mobile phone is extremely hard, and I wanted to do more tests, and that's the reason why I built this for myself. Okay, here is another example of this tool built by this tester by name Abhi. I'm sorry, I didn't mention his name. Here's a tool actually built by him. He has also been a mobile app tester, and he wanted to understand the memory leaks and the frames per second. So there is of course Firebase. There are other SDKs, but in terms of the pre-prod monitoring is something that he wanted to do. So he partnered with developers ex-Google, and they got together and they started to build this. And here is an example of one such memory leak they were able to catch. So for us, one thing that we're realizing is this: there are a lot of opportunities in testing that has not been addressed so far. There is plenty of opportunities. Okay, with some people smiling, I think there's some grammatical mistake or something like that. Is that correct? Oh, I'm hearing yes, no, and not really. That kind of tells that the state of grammar in every language is the same, right? Okay, so then I'll actually switch over to the English part of it. Okay, if there's a grammatical mistake there, then if, else if, right? Okay, progress happens to those who only enable others. What are we doing to enable others? There are plenty of opportunities actually for us. So one of the reasons why we all come to conferences is to enhance our profile. And what better way to enhance the profile than to build the tools based on the pain points that we have actually solved, and showcase the tools as an example of the kind of the value that you can actually bring. So that's one of the aspects of it. And I'm really looking forward to this world. When everybody really tests, they would then understand the value of a tester. So right now, how many of you have transitioned from being a manual exploratory tester to an automator? Okay. And how many of you have done that because it gets better pay? Okay. Rest of you are passionate about it? No, I'm just asking a question. Okay, you were passionate about it. Okay, good. But But here is what I've been asking people over breakfast and lunch. What's the scene over here? And they all necessarily say the same thing, that, hey, there's certainly the automation gets better pay. All of us want more money, right? And then the number of, and the companies are also trying to, push towards, the direction, which I understand absolutely. But at the same point, what I would say is this, that we're all doing that. If we are moving testers away from testing, and who would do that job? There are a lot of jobs that doesn't pay well, but that doesn't mean they're not important. Right? We should not be confusing what pays well and what is important. There is still a lot of active hands-on, testing that is important. The whole world, yesterday Ingo was talking about how can we do better, session-based, test management in order to do exploratory testing and report, pretty well. It's been there for about a decade and a half, and we're still talking about it. And I know, what's the level of the practice that's there in the industry? It's not so great. So if we have to advance, imagine if there was a tool that will give you heuristics, that will ask you questions, and that's where I think the AI should come in. The AI should not necessarily be implemented for automating the automation, right? The AI should come in to help the human testers. Who is thinking about that problem statement? There's an opportunity for you. Who is thinking about that problem statement, that AI, instead of trying to automate the automation, can we build an AI which asks questions when the tester is testing? Hey, did you look at this? Hey, something changed here. Hey, what do you think about the boundary condition actually for this? What do you think about, I notice you have not implemented equivalence class partitioning. I notice you have not done this. I notice that there is nothing that you have touched in this, screen. Hey, this is a screen where you have spent the maximum number of time. Isn't this a more valuable AI in the testing space? But are we thinking in that direction? We probably not. So, in my hypothesis, we're doing what gets us a better job and what gets us better progress in terms of the money and career. But it was so beautiful to hear someone from Sauce Labs, say that in their, and they control, I won't use the word, control, they have the visibility to the world, and if they're saying that, hey, we don't see the greens, the whole purpose of automation was to see the greens. And we're seeing the reds. So we're trying to think that the automation will catch bugs? Seriously? Automation, even if it can, it would catch 1% of the bugs that you want to catch. And the 99% has to be done by the humans. It's either you or the users, right? So that's the direction in which we're heading. And I would like to have this as my last, slide and tell you that anyone can test, but only the fearless can test really well. And thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.